Over the last 20 years as a financial planner, there's one mindset I've seen over and over again that has quietly destroyed retirements. Now, this mindset can lead to anything from working 10 years longer than you need to underspending in retirement, or following advice that was never actually meant for you. So in this video, I want to break down what this mindset is, how it shows up in real life, and most importantly, how you can avoid it. So what is this mindset? Well, let me give you an example that we've all been in. We walk into a store and there's a price on something, and there's a sale price on something. So it says regular price is $20, on sale for $16. Now, we think mindset that, well, that's a good deal because we've been ingrained to think $20 is the average price or the normal price for that, and it's on sale. I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago, and it was talking about when companies close out. So recently here in Canada, the Bay was closing out. So they do closeout sales, right? You see the signs, 30% off, 70% off. And they were interviewing the company that actually comes in. So Hudson Bay Company would hire a third-party company to come in and liquidate everything. And the liquidator actually said, we actually often will come in and up-price stuff and then discount it from there. So if an item was typically $20, we'll put a sticker that it was $30, 33% off, it's now only $20. Now, again, our mindset says, well, that's a good deal. I'm saving 33% on that thing. So again, it's this mindset of we've been anchored in thinking that $30 is the normal price, $20 is now a great price, I'm getting 33% off, and I should buy it before it's liquidated. And this happens to us again and again in our daily life. It happens to us in retirement, and it's anchoring bias. We are anchored in biases that we see, hear, feel, touch, all of it on a day-to-day basis. And most of the time, we don't even realize it. So anchoring bias is when you rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. This initial anchor can shape all of our decisions moving forward, even if it's not the most relevant or accurate. And we all fall into this, right? It's we see something, we're anchored in that, and we're hard to get off of that. And I know a lot of you have fallen to this anchoring bias, and I'll give you some examples of comments we get or requests for videos. And it's, I need $1 million to retire. Well, how do you get that number? Where does that number come from? Well, we have anchoring bias on, I've seen it, I've heard it, right? My coworker told me, hey, I finally retired, I got my $1 million. So now we have this anchoring bias that I need $1 million to retire. What about one that we all fall into? Retiring at age 65. Why is age 65 retirement date or retirement age? Well, that really goes back to when we all worked for the government or big corps that had these, retirement dates of 65. Well, that age and stage is gone. So why are we still anchored in age 65? Like if someone retires at 55, what do we say to them? Oh, lucky you, you got early retirement. But we're basing that off the anchoring of age 65. 55, maybe that's not early retirement. Maybe that's late retirement, right? Maybe we should anchor ourselves on everyone should retire at 50 or maybe at 70, right? Again, we've anchored ourselves on an age that we're supposed to retire. Another anchoring bias is withdrawing too much or even too little early in retirement. Again, earlier in retirement, our natural psychological movement is don't take out too much because I'm worried about the future. I may run out of money. Again, a good retirement plan should remove that. But another anchoring bias is, well, I only have so many years left of being able to spend, so I'm going to just go crazy. So again, sometimes these things take a little bit to massage in, like entering retirement. It's a whole new phase. I don't know exactly how much I'm spending. Perfect. Well, let's give you an idea, and then as you massage in after a year or two, let's make that adjustment. But don't get anchored in, I can only spend $5,000. Like we have clients, I have family like this. It's like, no, I can only spend $5,000 a month. It's like, no, but the plan shows you can spend 6 or 7. So go spend 6 or 7. No, I only have 5. They're anchored in that number. They're very, again, they haven't opened up their blinders or taken their blinders off at all. It's a narrow path. This is all I have, even though the plan shows you have more. So again, be open to this. Don't be so anchored in that number. Obviously, one of the biggest anchors we have is timing around your Canadian pension plan, right? It's, well, I'm taking it at 60 because that's what my dad did. Or my coworker retired and took it and it works for him or her, so I'm going to do the same thing. Or, everyone in my family died early, so I'm going. You're anchoring on something that's making you make a decision that maybe you shouldn't be making. And again, this is where the anchoring bias that we all fall to. I fall to it too, right? Now, within retirement planning, I don't, because I can see the data and I talk to every one of you that really opened me up. But I fall to anchoring bias all the time with stuff, especially when it comes to purchasing stuff, right? Again, I'm that liquidator guy. It's like, well, it was 30, it's now 20. That's a good deal. Well, is it a good deal, right? We get anchored into things. And so as we walk up to and into retirement, I want you to think, like, what am I anchored in? And a good task here, and I want you to pause the video, go grab a paper, pen, or get out your phone and write down 5 anchoring biases you think you've fallen into. And again, I've mentioned a few. Another one would be portfolio expectations. Well, I expect to get 12 to 15% rate of return. Well, what's that based off of? Is it your personal return that you've gotten? Is it a friend or family or coworker that's gotten that? Or is it just something you've seen in the news? Like, where does that number come from? Because most of you are not getting that rate of return, right? Or it's, oh, well, the S&P 500 did 12%, so I need to do 12%. Well, the S&P 500 is pure equity. It's a high risk investment. Most of you don't have that risk capacity. So there's a disconnect, but there's that anchoring in that rate of return. So again, take a paper, pen, take your phone, whatever you want to write it on, and write down 5 anchoring biases that you have. And it might not come to your head right away, but think about, like, how do I think about retirement? How do I think about savings and investing and drawing down and Canadian pension plan and all these things that are going to happen with me in retirement? What are some of the thought processes, right? I talked to a lot of you. It's like, well, I think I'm going to do this. Well, why are you going to do that? Well, I crunched some numbers, or again, my coworkers, and like, there's a bias behind it. So write down the 5 and then start working through those 5. Again, an anchoring bias isn't always a bad thing either. Like, if it's, well, I expect this rate of return because I've gotten it for the last 40 years of my life, and the risk tolerance isn't high, and I think this is reasonable moving forward. Perfect. It is the anchoring bias, but it's also a realistic expectation moving forward. Perfect. So that could be one that you write down, you work through, you say, no, this is realistic for me. But when you write down the 5, probably 3 of them you can start kind of digging into and go down that rabbit hole and figure out, like, why do I have this bias, and is it good and healthy for my future retirement? Because I release a video like this because we see again and again your anchoring biases are costing you in retirement on how to do things, when to do things, why you do things. If we can remove those biases, if we can move those barriers, we'll be more open when it comes to, okay, I'm entering retirement, my blinders are off. Right? My scope is more open. If we have these biases, the more biases we have, the more narrow our viewpoint is as we walk into retirement. So if we can remove those biases, or at least be open to discuss biases, which, let me tell you, a lot of you are not open to talking about your biases, you're set in your ways, which is totally fine. But it is costing you. So let's soften up around that stuff. Let's have the conversation. Let's look at both sides of the coin, right? Doesn't matter what the conversation is around retirement. Let's look at both sides of the coin and see what could work better for you. So how can we avoid anchoring biases? Well, the first thing is use current data, not old data. Again, I go back to we're anchored in retiring at age 65. That's old data, right? Use today's data, which is your data. When can you retire? Don't worry about an age. Don't worry about what other people think either. If you've saved hard and you're able to retire at 55 and you've built out a good plan and you know that, yeah, that number works for me, that's your retirement age. Don't let people say, well, you should be working for 10 more years to 65. Why? The second thing to help with anchoring bias is to work with a retirement planner or financial planner to look at different scenarios and options and open things up. Again, looking at both sides of the coin. Oftentimes we only look at one side of the coin, right? Again, picking on CPP, I'm going to look at it at 60 or 70. What about 65, 67, somewhere in between there, right? Or maybe you only look at, no, I'm taking it early no matter what. Well, what would happen if you did take it later? Would that be beneficial for you, right? How do you save up? Where do you save your money? How do you draw down? How can you help your kids or grandkids? Right? A lot of you aren't going to spend all your money. Maybe you're sitting there saying, Adam, I'm spending all my money. But for a lot of you, you're not. And so do you want to pass that money when you die? Do you want to pass it before? How much? When? Again, run through these scenarios. Don't get set in certain things. break it out with your financial planner and figure out what works best for you. The third tip for you is be very cautious of what you hear from family, friends, coworkers, even media, right? Like a lot of YouTube and stuff online, it's put out there by people that I'll say aren't qualified to give advice, right? They've never gone through the credentials. They don't have the education or background or knowledge to really give advice. But of course, platforms like this, anyone can get on and give advice. So again, who's giving that advice? Are they qualified? Do they do this for a living? Do they actually put kind of their money where their mouth is as far as like getting education and running a business and all that? So again, be very careful who you hear your stuff from. Family, friends, coworkers, neighbors. These are all very dangerous places for most of you to get your retirement planning advice from. It'll lead you down a very, very slippery slope and a path you probably shouldn't be going down. And the fourth tip for you is to review your plan annually, or at least every 2 to 3 years. Because what happens is you build a plan, maybe you remove those anchoring biases, but then going forward, they come back in. And yes, you're following your plan, but some of these anchoring biases start to layer in. So again, review, make sure those anchoring biases aren't changing the way you do things, right? How you draw your money, how you pass money on, how you pay tax. Like there's so many moving parts to retirement. So make sure you review your plan. That could be just sitting down with your plan. Like when we do a fee for service plan, you get a plan, video, you have all the detail. It's just sitting down, not necessarily even sitting down with your planner, it's sitting down with your plan to go through it and review it. And yes, I'm on track. And oh yeah, Adam said this and I should follow that or whatever it is. Again, review your plan on an annual basis. It might be a full update every 2 or 3 years as well, depending on what your situation is and structure with your financial planner, but review it. Don't set it and forget it. This is something you need to keep following or else these anchoring biases will layer back in. So again, going back to the list of 5, grab a paper, pen, your phone, whatever you want to do, write down 5 anchoring biases you think you fall into. And if you think you've fallen into none, talk to your spouse, a friend, a coworker, someone around you. They could probably highlight 5 anchoring biases that you fall into that maybe you don't even see, but they see it. So again, write it down, work through them, and figure out how can I be more open around these things so that I don't cost myself retirement. And when I say cost yourself retirement, I mean working longer and paying more taxes, right? I think all of us want to retire earlier and pay less tax, at least pay less tax. I know all of you want to do that. So again, anchoring biases hurt those things. So make your list, work through it, and we'll see you in the next video.